Dear students, my name is Nidhi Singh. I am from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad. In the current module, we will learn about various nutrition programs in India from the Population Health paper. Nutrition programs have important role in India. The nutrition, which is related to agriculture production and consumption. The second goal of Sustainable Development Goals commits member states to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Persistent hunger, malnutrition, and ill health threaten the ability of many countries to achieve the Millennium Development Goals by 2015. Estimates of the benefit can be expected from supplemental nutrition given in the context of holistic programs to tackle undernutrition in children. Shortage of food has not been unknown to the societies world over throughout the ages. India, with a vast population and uncertain harvest due to dependence on monsoon rains, has always been vulnerable to famines. The countries in the north also face year-to-year variation in precipitation and resultant fluctuations in harvest. Their buffer stocks and their ability to purchase allows them to sail through these fluctuations with no adverse impact on food security. However, in countries like India, dependent as they are on vagaries of the monsoon, even 1 year of drought can depress the production very substantially and also dry up the reserves and pipeline stocks. A second successive year of drought not only further depresses the production, but there is hardly anything left in the private or community stocks, and the pipelines also get completely dried up. The situation then becomes ripe for a famine. The problem was further compounded earlier due to lack of transportation facilities, and even if there were surplus food grain stock in one part of the country, it would not be possible to transfer huge stocks from such parts to distressed areas. So famines remained a part of India's history. Kautilya, the great statesman of ancient India, in his exhaustive chronicle on statecraft, Arthashastra, written between 321 to 301 BC, has advised the kings that during famine, the king should show favor to his people, providing them with seeds and provisions. He may either do such works as are usually resorted to in calamities. He may show favor by distributing either his own collection of provisions or the hoarded income of the rich among the poor. In Vedic era, the parting direction of Guru to his disciples was to go and grow food grains. The saying, Annan Brahmam, grain is God, also illustrates the importance that was given to food grains. There were 14 famines between 11th and 17th century. It, however, appears that earlier these famines were localized, and it was only after 1860 that famines come to signify general shortage of food grains in the country. Frequency of famines also seems to have increased, there being 20 between 1860 and 1909. However, the governments remain unaffected by these famines and perhaps felt that at worst the prices of food grains in affected areas will go up, but food grains will also reach those areas through the marketing channels in view of the attraction of high prices. In fact, the Famine Commission of 1880 had observed that each province in British India was surplus in food grains, and annual surplus, including of Burma, which was then part of British India, later an independent country Burma and now Myanmar. At that time, annual export of rice and other grains from India was to the tune of 1 million tons. situation seems to have changed drastically on the eve of Second World War, and the Bengal famine of 1943 is known to have claimed 3.5 million lives, though the official Famine Inquiry Commission had pegged the figure at 1.4 million. However, the commission did make a general observation that as many as 30% of the people remained hungry. In any case, this famine jolted the government out of its slumber and gave birth to a new era of food management in the country, resulting in introduction of policies of control on price and regulation of the distribution of food grains by the state. The roots of the program can be traced back to the pre-independence era, when a midday meal program was introduced in 1925 in Madras Corporation by the British administration. A midday meal program was introduced in the Union Territory of Puducherry by the French administration in 1930. In 1928, Keshav Academy of Calcutta introduced compulsory midday tiffin for schoolboys on payment basis at the rate of 4 annas per child per month. In 1941, in parts of Kerala, the school lunch program was started. In 1942, Bombay started implementing a free midday meal scheme. A midday meal scheme was introduced in Bangalore city in 1946 to provide cooked rice and yogurt. In 1953, Uttar Pradesh government introduced a scheme on voluntary basis to provide meals consisting of boiled or roasted or sprouted grams, groundnuts, puffed rice, boiled potatoes or seasonal fruits. In the 1950s, many states came to introduce midday meal programs with the assistance of different international agencies like UNICEF, FAO and WHO. International voluntary or charity organizations like Catholic Relief Service CRS, Church World Service CWS, CARE, USS Meals for Million, etc. also came forward to assist in these programs. During 1958-59, an expanded nutrition program ENP jointly by FAO, WHO, UNICEF and the Government of India was introduced, which was subsequently expanded into Applied Nutrition Program. Initiatives by state government to children began with the launch of a midday meal program in primary schools in the 1962-63 school year. Tamil Nadu is a pioneer in introducing midday meal programs in India to increase the number of kids coming to school. In 1982, the idea of food for learning with FAO commodity assistance was mooted. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribe girls were to be covered under this program. A program for central government assistance for midday meals for children in primary schools throughout the country was again considered during the year 1984-85. The broad rationale for the program were the following. 1. Midday meal program for primary schools could be constructed as an anti-poverty educational program. 2. Implementation of this program for the age group of 6 to 11 may maximize enrollments and reduce school dropout rates, and this would be important for the point of view of universalization of elementary education. 3. This would help in providing nutrition to the underfed and the undernourished children in the rural areas. Provision of meals to children in schools would also release food grains in poor families for non-school going children, and in effect, this would be an investment in human resource. The broad features of the program were coverage of primary school children in a phased manner, so that by the end of the 7th plan, 9.54 crore children could be covered. The estimated expenditure for the whole plan being rupees 4,000 crore. Provision of uniform nutrition for the children at 300 calories per day with 1215 grams of protein from 100 grams of cereal, 10 grams of dal and 5 grams of edible oil. Expenditure per child including expenses on administration to be 60 paisa. Food Corporation of India to release food grains at central issue prices, the value of which to be counted against central assistance to state. Estimated central assistance for the year 1989-90 being reckoned at rupees 623.50 crore. No elaborate administrative infrastructure to be built up. Linkage of implementation of the scheme with existing civil supplies distribution system. Supply of rations to be in kind and deliveries thereof may be made through state or cooperative agencies. Central assistance to be limited to 50%. Each state to have its own specific scheme with appropriate infrastructure and delivery systems subject to laid down parameters. Scheme to be implemented during the 7th plan period in a phased manner. Funds to be provided for the program not to be constructed as part of the outlay under the head Education. Funds required for the program to come from provisions earmarked for poverty alleviation schemes. While wheat and rice could be supplied through the Food Corporation of India, states would have to make their own arrangements for pulses and oils. States should evolve suitable logistics and make arrangements for cooks, helpers, administration, supervision and monitoring. Implementation of the scheme to start with ICDS blocks. Monitoring mechanism evolved under ICDS to be adapted for midday meal scheme as well. Community involvement and the implementation of the scheme. Now we'll discuss about the Integrated Child Development Services, popularly known as ICDS. Launched on 2nd October 1975, the Integrated Child Development Services ICDS scheme is one of the flagship programs of the Government of India and represents one of the world's largest and unique programs for early childhood care and development. It is the foremost symbol of country's commitment to its children and nursing mothers as a response to the challenge of providing preschool, non-formal education on one hand and breaking the vicious circle of malnutrition, morbidity, reduced learning capacity and mortality on the other. The beneficiaries under the scheme are children in the age group of 0 to 6 years, pregnant women and lactating mothers. Objectives of the scheme are to improve the nutritional and health status of children in the age group 0 to 6 years, to lay foundation for proper physiological, physical and social development of the child, to reduce the incidence of mortality, morbidity, malnutrition and school dropout, to achieve effective coordination of policy and implementation amongst the various departments to promote child development, and to enhance the capability of the mother to look after the normal health and nutritional needs of the child through proper nutrition and health education. The services under ICDS. ICDS scheme offers a package of 6 services. They are supplementary nutrition, preschool non-formal education, nutrition and health education, immunization, health checkup and referral services. The last 3 services are related to health and are provided by Ministry or Department of Health and Family Welfare through NRHM and health system. The perception of providing a package of service is based primarily on the consideration that the overall impact will be much larger if the different services develop in an integrated manner as the efficacy of a particular service depends upon the support it receives from the related services. For better governance in the delivery of the scheme, convergence is therefore one of the key features of the ICDS scheme. This convergence is inbuilt in the scheme, which provides a platform in the form of Anganwadi centers for providing all services under the scheme. Now we will have a look on the public distribution system in India. Evolution of public distribution of grains in India had its origin in the rationing system introduced by the British during the World War II. In view of the fact that the rationing system and its successor, the public distribution system, commonly known as PDS, has played an important role in attaining higher levels of household food security and completely eliminating the threats of famines from the face of the country, it will be in the fitness of things that its evolution, working, and efficacy are examined in some details. It was really the generation of World War's own compulsions that forced the then British government to introduce the first structured public distribution of cereals in India through the rationing system sale of a fixed quantity of ration, either rice or wheat, to entitled families which are ration card holders in specified cities, towns. The system was started in 1939 in Bombay and subsequently extended to other cities and towns. By the end of 1943, 13 cities had been brought under the coverage of rationing, and by 1946, as many as 771 cities, towns were covered. Some rural areas suffering from chronic shortage were also covered. The Department of Food under the Government of India was created in 1942, which helped in food matters getting the serious attention of the government. When the war ended, India, like many other countries, decided to abolish the rationing system. This was in 1943. However, on attaining independence, India was forced to reintroduce it in 1950 in the face of renewed inflationary pressures in the economy immediately after independence, which were accentuated by the already prevailing high global prices of food grains at the end of the war, which were around 4 times higher than the pre-war prices. Public distribution of food grains was retained as a deliberate social policy by India when it embarked on the path of planned economic development in 1951. It was, in fact, an important component of the policy of growth with justice. In the first 5-year plan, the system, which was essentially urban-based till then, was extended to all such rural areas which suffered from chronic food shortages. It was also decided to have 2 variations of the system: statutory rationing areas, where food grains availability was supposed to be only through the ration shops, and non-statutory rationing areas, where such shops would only supplement the open market availability. The system, however, continued to remain an essentially urban-oriented activity. In fact, towards the end of the first 5-year plan in 1956, the system was losing its relevance due to comfortable food grain availability. The net, that is gross minus 12.5% of the seed, feed and wastage, the net retail level of availability of food grains had jumped from 54 million tons in 1953 to 63.3 million tons in 1954 and remained at 63 plus million tons up to end of the first 5-year plan. This situation even prompted the government to abandon procurement of food grains and remove all controls on the private trading in food grains. However, true to its cyclic nature, the production dropped to 58.3 million tons in 1958 when the second 5-year plan had just started and forced the government to not only restart the procurement of cereals and put control on trading of food grains, but re-examine the need of public distribution system. It was decided to reintroduce the PDS system. Other essential commodities like sugar, cooking, coal, kerosene oil were added to the commodity basket of PDS. There was also a rapid increase in the ration shops, which were now being called the fair price shops, FPSs, and their number went up from 18,000 in 1957 to 51,000 in 1961. Moreover, the quantity of food grains distributed through PDS started getting increased with PL 480 availability. Thus, by the end of second 5-year plan, PDS had changed from typical rationing system to a social safety system, making available food grains at a fair price so that access of households to food grain could be improved, and such distribution could keep a check on the speculative tendencies in the market. The concept of buffer stocks was also incorporated in the overall food policy, although no buffer worth the name was required to be created in view of easy and continuous availability of PL 480 grains. Creation of Food Corporation of India and Agriculture Prices Commission in 1965 consolidated the position of PDS. Government was now committed to announce a minimum support price for wheat and paddy and procure of quantities that could not fetch even such minimum prices in the market. The resultant stocks were to be utilized for maintaining distribution through the PDS, and a portion of these were used to create and maintain buffer stocks. In fact, stocks happened to be inadequate for maintaining a certain level of distribution through PDS. Government had to resort to imports to honor its charge to PDS consumers. All through the ups and downs of Indian agriculture, PDS continued as a deliberate social policy of the government with the objectives of 1. Providing food grains and other essential items to vulnerable sections of the society at reasonable and subsidized prices. 2. To have a moderating influence on the open market prices of cereals, the distribution of which constitutes a fairly big share of the total marketable surplus. And finally, to attempt socialization in the matter of distribution of essential commodities. The PDS seeks to provide to the beneficiaries 2 cereals, rice and wheat, and 4 essential commodities, including sugar, edible oil, soft coke, and kerosene oil. However, state government, which actually manage the system at the ground level, are exhorted to add other essential commodities like pulses, salt, candles, matchboxes, ordinary clothes, school text, books, copies, and the like. Supply of additional items through PDS is especially relevant in interior areas which are away from the market and where 1 or 2 traditional shopkeepers who also double up for moneylenders have the market monopoly. A number of state governments have set up civil supplies or essential commodities corporation to buy such additional items directly from the manufacturers and use the existing structure of PDS to arrange for the sale at lower than market rates. Revamped public distribution system. On 1st January 1992, the Government of India launched a new scheme to revamp the public distribution system or PDS. Under the scheme, the government has identified 1775 blocks falling in drought-prone desert, integrated tribal development project areas and certain designated hill areas. It has been estimated that the revamped PDS would cover nearly 16 crore people living in these identified areas and accordingly decided to issue new ration cards in these newly identified areas. Under this revamped PDS, these new initiatives were undertaken with the following objectives. 1. It has been decided to make special efforts for effective reach of benefits to the families of identified areas living below the poverty line. In these identified areas, the delivery of commodities to the doorstep of the fair price shops would be undertaken by the state governments wherever possible. To ensure a minimum availability of food grains per adult per month to the people of these identified areas. To ensure strict vigilance over the delivery system, vigilance committees would be formed at the FPS level for its proper supervision. In these committees, participation of the beneficiaries attached to such shop, voluntary consumer organization, responsible person and woman beneficiary would be necessary. 1997 Target Public Distribution System. With a view to reduce the burden of food subsidy and targeting it better to the really needy people, the Government of India adopted the Targeted Public Distribution System from June 1st, 1997. The Antyodaya Anna Yojana in the year 2000. This is a Government of India sponsored scheme to provide highly subsidized food to millions of the poorest families. It was launched by the government on 25th December 2000. The National Food Security Act of 2013. The main objectives of the Act are right to receive food grains under PDS, nutritional support to pregnant women and lactating mothers, nutritional support to children, prevention and management of child malnutrition, implement of schemes for entitlements, right to receive food security and allowance, coverage of population, state governments to prepare guidelines, women of 18 years age and above to be head of household, internal grievance redressal, State Food Commission, salary and allowance of chairperson and members, food grains from central pool to state government, social audit on PDS, setting up vigilance committee, food and nutritional security, other welfare scheme, penalties, technology including MIS, provision for advancing food security, agriculture, sanitation, safe drinking water, and nutrition education. The public distribution system needs monitoring system to control leakages. The GPS and biometric systems are introduced to control these leakages. Now Aadhaar card connection has been introduced so that the grains and other commodities will be given to entitled persons. The nutrition in different forms have been evolved to serve the people. The nutrition programs help to achieve a hunger-free society for the nation's development. Thank you.